Dear viewers, they said he didn't deserve kindness, that a man who took lives shouldn't be shown compassion. But when Nurse Olivia Parker stepped into room 312 that morning, she didn't see a monster. She saw a dying man whispering a request that would shake the entire hospital. This is the story of how a nurse fulfilled a killer's final wish. And what happened next, no one could have ever predicted. You see, hospitals witness life and death every day. But that day, something different happened, because when the state transferred Ethan Cole, a convicted murderer, to St. Mary's Hospital for his final days, most nurses refused to take his case. The guards warned everyone, he's dangerous. Don't talk to him. Just do your job. But Olivia Parker wasn't like the others. She believed no one was beyond redemption, not even a man the world had already condemned. Still, nothing could have prepared her for the shocking request Ethan would make, a request that would expose secrets, test faith, and leave everyone questioning what it really means to forgive. Ethan arrived late one night under heavy guard, chains around his wrists, a cold stare that could freeze the air. His crimes were all over the news. A man accused of taking the lives of 3 people during a robbery gone wrong. He'd been sentenced to death, but due to a terminal illness, he was transferred to a hospital to live out his last days. No one wanted to go near him, except Olivia. She was a 34-year-old nurse, soft-spoken, gentle, and known for treating every patient like family. When her supervisor asked if she'd take Ethan's case, she simply said, "If he's breathing, he's human. That's enough for me." At first, Ethan said nothing. He avoided her eyes, refused his meds, and barely ate. But Olivia kept showing up every day. She'd adjust his pillow, bring his food, and ask simple questions. And slowly, something changed. The man who once glared at everyone began to look at her differently. Not with hate, but with a kind of quiet confusion, as if he couldn't understand why she cared. After 2 weeks, Ethan finally spoke. One morning, as Olivia changed his floor, he rasped, "Why are you being nice to me?" She paused. "Because everyone deserves kindness, Ethan." He let out a dry laugh. "Even killers?" Olivia didn't flinch, especially killers, because they're the ones who've forgotten what kindness feels like. That night, Ethan asked for something unusual, a journal. He said he wanted to write some things down. Olivia brought him one. Every day afterward, she'd see him scribbling quietly. Sometimes he'd stop and stare out the window. His eyes are heavy with memories that wouldn't leave him alone. Days turned into weeks. Olivia became the only person Ethan would talk to. He told her about his childhood, how he grew up in a broken home, how his mother left when he was 7, how anger became his only friend. He never made excuses for what he'd done. But Olivia saw something few others did, a man who carried guilt heavier than his own chains. Then one quiet morning, Ethan called her in. He looked weaker, his skin pale, his breathing shallow. He said softly, "Olivia, I have one last request before I die." She nodded. "Anything I can do for you, I will." Ethan hesitated. His voice cracked. "I want you to find the families of the people I hurt and tell them I'm sorry. In person." Olivia froze. It was the one thing she never expected to hear. "Ethan, that's not something I can just do," she whispered. "They might hate you. They might hate me." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "I know, but they deserve to hear it from someone who saw me as human, even when no one else did." Olivia's heart raced. She knew this could cost her job. Hospital policy forbade personal involvement with inmates. But the look in his eyes wasn't the look of a killer. It was the look of a man desperate to make peace before he died. So after her shift, she made a decision that would change everything. She said yes. Olivia drove 2 hours after work to a small suburban neighborhood. Her hands trembled as she parked in front of a modest house with peeling paint. This was the home of Mary Douglas, the mother of one of Ethan's victims. When Mary opened the door, she looked confused to see a nurse standing there. "Can I help you?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Ma'am, I'm the nurse caring for Ethan Cole." Mary's expression turned cold. "You're what?" Olivia explained everything. Ethan's illness, his remorse, his final wish. Mary's eyes filled with tears, anger, and disbelief all at once. "You tell that man there's nothing he can say that will bring my son back." Olivia nodded gently. "He knows that. He doesn't want forgiveness, ma'am. He just wanted you to know. He's sorry. Truly." There was silence. Then, slowly, Mary said, "You tell him, I hope God forgives him, because I'm still trying to." Olivia thanked her, tears in her own eyes, and left the letter Ethan had written for her on the doorstep. That night, Olivia drove back in silence. The weight of what she'd done settled on her heart, but she also felt something else. Peace. By the next morning, word had spread. One of the guards overheard Olivia on the phone with a victim's family. Soon, the hospital director called her in. "You cross a line, Olivia. You're suspended pending review." Her hands shook. She'd lost her job, but she didn't regret it. That afternoon, she went back to Ethan's room, not as his nurse, but as a friend. He looked at her and immediately knew. "You did it, didn't you?" he whispered. Olivia nodded. "I met one of the families. She said she's still trying to forgive." Ethan smiled faintly, a tear rolling down his cheek. "That's all I needed to hear." He handed her the journal. "Give this to them. All of them. Maybe it'll help." That was the last time Ethan ever spoke. He passed away quietly that night, peacefully, for the first time in years. Olivia could have walked away after that, but she didn't. Over the next few weeks, she delivered Ethan's letters and journal entries to each of the families he had hurt. Some slammed their doors, some cried, and one father hugged her, whispering, "Thank you for letting me see him as more than a headline." Months later, local news caught wind of her story. They called it "The Nurse Who Humanized a Killer." The hospital's board reconsidered her suspension. They reinstated her with a public apology, because when the community saw what she'd done, the compassion, the courage, it reminded them all of something our world often forgets. That kindness isn't just for the innocent. Sometimes it's for the broken, too. A year later, Olivia founded a small program at the hospital called the Second Chance Project. It connects terminally ill inmates with counselors and chaplains to help them make peace before they die. She often says Ethan was the reason she started it. His journal now sits in her office, a worn-out notebook filled with regrets, prayers, and one final line written on the last page. "To anyone reading this, I was once the worst version of myself, but someone saw the best of me before I died, and that made all the difference." In a world that's quick to judge and slow to forgive, Olivia's story reminds us that compassion doesn't mean excusing the past. It means believing people can change before it's too late. So the next time you see someone the world has given up on, remember Nurse Olivia Parker and the day she fulfilled a killer's final request. Because sometimes the most powerful cure isn't medicine, it's mercy.